Welcome to our presentation of Civil War. In this presentation, we will explain how we utilize historical empathy as tools for middle school students to reflect on their understanding of Civil War and further influence their decision-making in conflicting situations. So our targeted audience is students from 9th grades to 12th grades who are studying history of American Civil War. But before everything, we want to clarify that these activities are used as a consolidation or revision task at the end of their work on the American Civil War. It is assumed that all audience have such prior knowledge. This project consists of 3 activities aimed to foster historical empathies in students' minds. Before we dive into the activities, we will first discuss our needs, targeted audience, project specifics, and introduce our user feedbacks. The needs we are addressing here is historical empathy. Simply speaking, the reason why this need is not properly addressed is that traditional historical teaching relying on old paradigm where students are passive recipients of the information. They find history boring and irrelevant to the present. So what is historical empathy? According to Endicott and Brooks, historical empathy consists of 3 intercepting elements: historical contextualization, perspective taking, and affective connections. First, our need is aligned with New York State Learning Standard of the Social Studies. According to the studies framework, comparison and contextualization is one learning goal deemed necessary for students from 9th to 12th grades in New York. One component of historical empathy addresses the requirements by this framework, that is, historical contextualization. So each component of historical empathy is important in some way. For historical contextualization, historical empathy helps with curriculum goals by increasing students' engagement with the study of history and promoting a better understanding of historical contents. For perspective taking, historical empathy also enables students to appreciate the complexity of a given historical events. And for the affective connection, historical empathy helps students learn from the past when they establish both cognitive and affective connection with the past.
Our project consists of 3 parts. Activity 1 is about exploring complexity of cause and effects. Activity 2 is role play. Activity 3 is about extension of the past into the present and reflect should we wear medical mask. So for Activity 1, we want students to explore should the nation go to war. We choose these questions for 2 reasons. First, because historical empathy is built on understanding of the past, so we want to help students consolidate the understanding of some basic historical facts from the textbooks. And also, this topic is closely connected to the needs of historical empathy. In considering what caused Civil War, students will realize how people from different backgrounds were involved in this event, and I hope different answers to these questions. So first, to enable students to perform with better understanding, we provide them with some additional videos and articles in addition to the textbooks. So after reviewing the supplementary materials, students will be asked to draw the cause and effect of Civil War. In Activity 1, we will ask students to use Miro. So we use Miro because it is a video collection platform which enables groups of people to create products faster. And there are various templates and editing is very flexible. And most importantly, Miro allows students to do collaborative work so that they can share, compare, and learn from each other. We'll first guide students to draw a simplified version of cause and effect, as you can see in this picture. Then we will ask them to add more factors to the existing cause and effect chain and form a more complex nonlinear historical logic where factors intertwine with each other. So students can see how different stakeholders are involved in this war and understand their stances, which leads to our second activity. The second activity is role play, which aims to achieve the goal of contextualization and comparison. We hope students could emphasize with different groups through taking their perspectives. The students will be divided into 3 groups, and each group will choose one character in the Civil War, then they will complete the profiles. And in completing the profile, they will receive relevant information and templates that could guide them to do a research. Each group will then collaborate to write a monologue on should the nation go to war. And last, each group will present their monologue and have a discussion. The activity list part, the technology we use is a profile template that we create. In this template, we present students with characters of different socioeconomic status that represent different political forces. They are slaves, southern plantation owners, and northern politicians. Since our goal is to have students emphasize with the role, we designed some supporting questions to help students think what sort of lives these characters are leading before the war, which includes standards of living, socioeconomic status, their feelings about the lives they are leading. And also, to better assist students answering these questions, we provide some materials on each role that students can refer to. The students are also encouraged to research additional information on the character during the play. And for more details and templates, please feel free to refer to the Google Docs. And also, another technology we use is the Slack. So this is an app that could enhance communication and productive teamwork. So Slack allows students to share materials about their roles and opinions in different channels. Teachers can join these channels to understand how each group is going and give instant feedback. And also, during one group's monologue, students could share their instant thoughts on their role without interrupting their presentation. From immediate comments, students can understand where they are and how well they go.
Activity 3 aims to invite students to make moral judgments and promote a disposition to act for the good of others. If we consider war as a last resolution in setting the conflicts of interests and beliefs, what could be the takeaways of Activity 2? How can students transfer such perspective taking into tackling the real-world problems? In this activity, we provide students with a mask dilemma. That is the talk of the world now during this special coronavirus pandemic. Should the public wear masks outdoors or not? We want students to understand the conflicting views of two sides, emphasize with opinions they disagree with, while still maintain their own judgments. For the Activity 3, first, we want students to find one supporter and a naysayer of this topic in their own community and conduct interviews. Students will design the outline of interviews, select the date and the time to conduct interviews, and complete an interview meeting notes as an assignment of this activity. The meeting notes will clarify two interviewees' opinions and stances on this topic, the reasons and argumentation of their opinions. The purpose is to understand the conflicting views of two sides in terms of belief, interests, and stances. Secondly, after the completion of meeting notes, students choose either pros or cons sides and write their own perspective and reasons for supporting the mask topic. And then students should compare and reflect on two interviews, opinions, and argumentation paralleled with their own answer. Question 1. Who do you agree with more? Why? Question 2. For the opinions that you disagree, which part of the interviews you could or could not emphasize or understand? Question 3. How can your knowledge or takeaways from activities 2 inform or change understanding of views conflicting situations? Our key features is the role-play activity and the collaboration of group discussion to help students have a better understanding about causes and the effects on history. Finally, here's our user cases. We interviewed 2 students in New York and got some useful feedback. Among them, Chuchu says that the activity of role play may make students feel boring to repeat the same content about a certain history. But Leo has different views. He thinks that role play is different from the lecture-based study and can help us apply the knowledge what we learned. Based on their feedbacks, we need to do more further research. Thank you for watching. Hope you stay safe and healthy.